Imagine sitting at a dinner table, hungry, waiting for food. Now imagine you are a child with no parents. No home except the orphanage where you live. You and hundreds of other children are sitting quietly at long wooden tables, waiting for breakfast. Your stomach is empty. The other children look tired and weak. But there is a problem. There is no food in the kitchen. The cupboards are empty. The pantry is empty. There is not a single loaf of bread. Not a drop of milk. And there is no money to buy anything. Yet the man who cares for the children calmly walks into the room and smiles. He asks everyone to sit down at the tables. Hundreds of hungry children sit quietly watching him. Then he says something that sounds impossible. Children, let us thank God for the food He is about to give us. The children bow their heads. But the truth is, there is no food coming. Or at least that is what everyone thinks. Just a few minutes after the prayer, someone knocks on the door. What happens next will become one of the most famous stories of faith ever told. And the man at the center of this incredible moment is a man named George Müller. But what makes this story even more remarkable is that George Müller did not start his life as a good man. In fact, if you had met him when he was young, you might never have believed he would grow up to change thousands of lives. George Müller was born in 1805 in Prussia, which is now part of modern-day Germany. His father wanted him to grow up and become a respectable government official. He expected his son to live an honest and disciplined life. But young George had other ideas. As a boy and teenager, he loved money. He loved spending it, gambling with it, and doing almost anything to get more of it. He lied constantly. He cheated people whenever he had the chance. And sometimes he even stole money from his own father. His behavior became worse and worse as he got older. By the time he was a young man, George Müller had become skilled at manipulating people and telling convincing lies. He would pretend to be someone he was not just to gain money or advantages. Eventually, his dishonest lifestyle caught up with him. At one point, he was arrested and thrown into jail for fraud. Imagine that for a moment. The man who would later become famous for caring for thousands of orphan children once sat alone in a prison cell because of his own crimes. His future looked dark and uncertain. But his story was about to change in a way he never expected. One evening, a friend invited George to attend a small Christian gathering at someone's home. George was not particularly interested in religion. He simply went along because he had nothing better to do. Inside the house, a small group of people were sitting together reading the Bible and praying. There was nothing fancy about the meeting. No large church building. No impressive stage. Just a few ordinary people talking about their faith. But something about that evening deeply affected George. For the first time in his life, he saw people praying sincerely. They spoke about God as if they truly believed He was real and present. George began to feel something stirring inside his heart. That night, he realized the truth about the life he had been living. He saw clearly how selfish and dishonest he had been. And that night he made a decision that would change the direction of his entire life. He decided to leave his old lifestyle behind and dedicate his life to following God. From that moment on, George Müller was no longer the same man. The liar began to pursue honesty. The thief began to pursue generosity. And the selfish young man began to look for ways to help others. Years later, George moved to the city of Bristol in England. While living there, he began to notice something heartbreaking happening in the streets. There were children everywhere who had no homes. Many of them had lost their parents to disease, poverty, or war. They wandered the streets hungry, dirty, and desperate. Some slept in alleyways. Others begged for food. Many of these children were forced into crime simply to survive. George Müller saw these children every day, and the sight troubled him deeply. He could not ignore their suffering. He felt a growing conviction that he needed to help them. So he made a decision that would become the mission of his life. He would start caring for orphan children. But he also made another decision. One that surprised everyone who heard about it. George Müller decided that he would never ask anyone for money. Not rich people. Not churches. Not friends. Instead, he would rely entirely on prayer and trust that God would provide everything needed. People thought this idea was completely unrealistic. How will you feed the children? They asked. How will you buy clothes for them? How will you build homes for them? But George Müller remained confident. He believed that if the mission was truly good, God would provide the resources. At first he started small. He rented a house and began caring for a few children. But the number of orphans quickly grew. Soon the house was full. Then another house was needed. And then another. More and more children arrived, each one needing food, shelter, education, and love. the responsibility became enormous. And many times the orphanages came dangerously close to running out of supplies. There were days when the cupboards were completely empty. Days when there was no money left. Days when it seemed impossible to continue. But again and again something extraordinary happened. Just when the need was greatest, help would arrive unexpectedly. One of the most famous moments happened on a morning when the orphanage had absolutely no food. Hundreds of children were waiting for breakfast. The staff were extremely worried. They knew the kitchen was empty. But George Müller calmly gathered the children and asked them to sit at the tables. He bowed his head and prayed. "Dear God, we thank you for the food you are going to give us." Moments later there was a knock at the door. When the door was opened, a local baker was standing there. He explained that he had been unable to sleep the night before. For some reason he felt a strong urge to bake bread for the orphanage. So he woke up early in the morning and baked several large batches. Now he was delivering them. There was enough bread to feed all the children. But the story did not end there. Shortly afterward there was another knock on the door. This time it was a milkman. His milk cart had broken down right outside the orphanage building. If he did not give the milk away quickly, it would spoil. So he offered all the milk to the orphanage children. That morning the children who had nothing to eat ended up with fresh bread and milk. Stories like this happened again and again throughout George Müller's life. As the years passed, his work continued to grow. Eventually he built 5 enormous orphanage buildings in Bristol. Together they could house thousands of children. During his lifetime, George Müller helped care for more than 10,000 orphans. He ensured they received food, education, and opportunities for a better future. But his influence reached far beyond the orphanages. George Müller also helped distribute millions of Bibles and Christian books across the world. People everywhere began hearing about the man who trusted God completely for everything he needed. Even in his old age, George Müller did not slow down. When he was in his 70s and 80s, he began traveling across the world. He visited more than 40 countries, speaking to large audiences about faith and trust in God. People were amazed by his story. Here was a man who once lived a dishonest and selfish life, who had been in jail, yet had transformed into someone who changed thousands of lives. When George Müller finally passed away in 1898 at the age of 92, thousands of people attended his funeral. Many of them were people whose lives had been touched by his work. Former orphans came to honor the man who had given them a chance at life. Today, the story of George Müller continues to inspire people around the world. His orphanages cared for over 10,000 children. Millions of Bibles were distributed through his ministry. And his life became one of the most powerful examples of faith and generosity in history. Perhaps the most remarkable part of his story is that he never once asked anyone directly for money. Everything came through prayer and unexpected acts of kindness. His life reminds us that a person's past does not have to determine their future. A young man who once lied, cheated, and went to jail became someone who fed the hungry, cared for the abandoned, and inspired millions of people. One decision changed everything. And because of that decision, thousands of children who might have been forgotten instead found hope, safety, and a future. If this story inspired you, take a moment to support the channel. Like this video so more people can discover stories like this. Subscribe for more powerful and inspiring true stories from history. And leave a comment below telling us what part of George Müller's story touched you the most. Because sometimes, the most powerful stories are the ones that remind us how one person's faith and determination can change the world.